Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Colon with the Boys. My name's Asen, here with my co-host Nathan.
What up?
Today we have something a little different for you guys. If you didn't know, the music that plays in our intro and outro are both originals of mine that I made. I'm going to do a shameful plug here. So if you like that music, you can check out all my stuff on SoundCloud and YouTube. If you just search for Frenemy Official, and that's like friend and enemy put together. I made it a long time ago. Don't judge me.
I'm judging you.
Yeah, I know. But the reason I tell you that is today we have one of my longtime friends, Blake Birmingham, with us. He's an aspiring composer, and we talked to him about all things music and composition. So sit back, grab a Bud Light, lime, like Blake.
Gross.
And open a cold one. Welcome to the Colon with the Boys. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Hey, tell me if you can hear this. Did you hear that?
Heard something. I don't know what it was.
Did you like pucker your butthole? What was that?
No, I opened a beer. I was trying to be slick, and I was like, okay, before this podcast, I'm going to go buy some beer, and I'm going to try to be all fancy, and before I talk, I'm going to get this little of my bottle opening. Try to be a little genuine.
Was it a bottle or a can?
It was a bottle, but I mean, granted, it's a Bud Light Lime, so it probably doesn't have,
Oh my God!
as big as an impact as a real beer would.
I thought Bud Light Limes were twist offs.
They are.
Oh, you twisted it off?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember? I don't remember what party this was. I don't even think it was a party. I think it was just us two. We like drank a 30 pack.
Which time?
Yeah, it probably did happen several times, didn't it?
Yeah, we had
I just distinctly remember one time that we were like, it was like, I don't know where it was, to be honest, but it was bottles. We had like Coors bottles, and we split, I think it was a 24 pack of bottles, and we split them evenly down the middle.
You know, I'm not going to say I remember, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. Because that sounds like something that we would do.
Yeah. Good times in 7th grade. No, I'm just kidding.
7th grade?
We didn't even know each other then.
Yeah.
I didn't meet you till Pride.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've known you since, high school, like 9th grade?
9th grade, I believe. Bringing it back to 2006.
And
right?
now you're gonna be the next Hans Zimmer, right?
Well, the hope is to be the Blake Birmingham, the new color. I'm not trying to imitate anyone. Rather,
I'm not trying to intimidate anyone,
but rather, yeah, I'm not trying to intimidate anyone. No, I'm not trying to imitate anyone, but rather I'd like to establish my own genre and hopefully be just as successful as some of those other really big names.
Yeah, man. I've ever since high school and going through college and stuff, I've watched you build quite a portfolio on your SoundCloud, and there's a huge variety of songs and stuff on there. Some, mostly orchestral, film score kind of music, which I love. I love like groups like Two Steps from Hell. I love Hans Zimmer, the big composers. So it's been cool to watch you grow as an artist and kind of flourish. It's been pretty awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Maybe we can get married after this little sentimental moment.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Let's do that. We'll
no, but I appreciate it, man. That means a lot. I've listened to a lot of music, and film music has always kind of spoke to me the most, just because of the sheer emotion that I think it has on such grand scales. And sometimes how the music for movies can actually be way more artistic than the movie itself. Sometimes it even saves the movie. But listening to all these different films over the years, all these different film scores, has kind of helped me develop a wider palette of genre, because not every movie is the same, as I'm sure you guys have noticed.
Yeah.
So there's different types of music for all these different movies, and I think right now on my iTunes, I probably have like 20 days worth of movie soundtracks to listen to. And they just go through all assortments of different kind of genres, whether that be orchestral or electronic, something more like Trent Reznor or Atticus Ross, all the way to jazz even. Do you guys see the new Black Panther movie?
I have not.
I did.
I haven't seen it.
What do you think of the music in that?
I thought it was very different, and I thought it was a good score. I think all of the Marvel movies, to be honest, have pretty good scores. I'm not sure if they're all scored by the same person. I haven't looked into that.
Yeah, they definitely have the same feel, without a doubt. But what stuck out to me most in that movie is I've heard something that hasn't really been done too often, and it's mixing hip hop with orchestra. And I thought it was actually done at a pretty good level. Like, when you start doing stuff like that, you risk being kind of cheesy or corny or coming off as not very serious. But I like the way he did that, especially with like the bad character was more of the hip hop color, and the Black Panther was more like the traditional African drumming. Whenever you notice those different spots in the score, so I thought it was a pretty dope score. I really liked it.
So for us musically uneducated, you guys are talking about scores and all this other shit. I have no fucking idea what the hell you're talking about.
So a score.
So what is a score when it comes to film music?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
I mean, the score is the music itself, just the music that's following along to the picture. It's just kind of a fancy word for music, really.
So the soundtrack to whatever movie you're listening to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't.
That makes sense.
I actually don't know why I didn't use soundtrack. That's usually what I call it, but I call it a score just because I felt.
And then, if you want to get really super technical, a score itself is the manuscript paper that actually has all the notes with all the parts to whatever you're listening to. And then people usually just say movie score instead of movie soundtracks. It's the same thing,
But yeah, I've definitely noticed in Black Panther the African feel, and that was definitely very different from anything we've heard recently in movie scores. But I know that there is a lot of movies. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. You probably could, but there's a lot of movies out there that are complete dog shit movies, and then the soundtrack is amazing.
This is a little bit debatable, but I would argue on both ends. You could say it's not the best soundtrack. You could say it's not the best movie. But Man of Steel had some. I thought it was a shit movie, to be honest. I didn't like it. I thought it kind of sucked. It looked cool, but I didn't like the plot or the story as much. But there were musical moments that made me actually interested in even going to see the movie. Like, I remember when that trailer came out, you hear those horns, just body yum pum pum. Oh man, I gotta go see that movie.
Yeah, dude. I think I actually saw that one with you.
No way.
I think it was that one, but I could be wrong. Either way, I actually enjoyed I did enjoy that soundtrack, and I didn't enjoy the movie, so I'm with you there. But in the trailer to Man of Steel, they used that song from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
the Bridge of
Khazad-dûm.
Doom, or what? Khazad-dûm. Yeah, something like that. And that song, like whenever Gandalf gets pushed off in the Mines of Moria or whatever, and he's like falling, that song plays during the trailer for Man of Steel, and I was like, oh shit, that's awesome, because I love that soundtrack. But it had nothing to do with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the other big one they've been using on the trailers. Did you ever see Sicario with Benicio del Toro?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen a trailer for it.
They're using Johan Johansson's piece from that, the Convoy track, in a lot of horror movie trailers lately. It's these really low cello bass, dugga diga dugga dugga diga dugga. R.I.P. to that guy, by the way. That's a big loss in the music world. Did you guys hear about that? I mean, I know, Nathan, you're not in this world too often.
No.
But Johan Johansson, real big up and coming film composer, really started reestablishing the genre somewhat. Came in and shaked up the game. He just woke up dead a couple weeks ago.
Oh damn, that sucks.
In the middle of in the middle of 2 new movies, I believe. So it's a big loss. But not to be such a Debbie Downer. Maybe we'll moving on to the next subject.
What's what kind of music did he do?
He did the movie Arrival with the aliens. Did you ever see that one?
Nope.
It was an Oscar-nominated movie. He did Sicario with Benicio del Toro. He's done a lot of actually really well-done movies. Theory of Everything, the biography of Stephen Hawking. I think that's the one that got him on the map.
Did he do the the LA one where like the aliens attack, like Battlefield LA or something like that? What was that?
That was actually Tyler.
I'm trying to think of what, because I know I had something on my Spotify that was Johan Johansson, and I think it was from that movie. But I don't recognize any of it because I haven't seen Arrival and I haven't seen Sicario, so I don't recognize those.
He also did that Prisoners movie, oddly enough, with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal.
And Brokeback Mountain, right?
Brokeback Mountain.
I don't think he did that one.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
He opted out of that one, maybe.
Yeah, he probably opted out.
I've actually never seen that movie.
Me neither.
Me neither. It's not that I have anything against like homosexuality or anything. I fully support that, but I just haven't seen it.
I have no interest in watching it.
But like I don't. Do you hear a lot of trailers recently with 2 Steps from Hell? Because I mean that's where they came around originally. Is they used to do movie trailers, but I don't hear them that much anymore, even though they keep coming out with new stuff.
Yeah, I feel like with those guys, they probably got to the point where they were big enough to where they're like, hey, we don't need to just live off commissions for these trailers anymore. We can start just pumping out albums and people are going to buy them. Because a lot of composers will make money off commission work. So let's say a Sin hires me to write something, and I say, okay, that's going to cost like $300, and then I just get paid for that $300, and then that's it, and then the music's out there for the rest of the time being, unless I work something out to where I can publish it myself or send it to a publishing company, et cetera, et cetera. But they could probably make more money just pumping out albums than working off small commissions for just 1 or 2 trailers now and then.
So guys like 2 Steps from Hell, I mean, I don't know too much about them, but me and Asin were actually talking about them the other day. He was playing some other music in the Discord server we have. He said they became popular from doing movie trailers. Is that where a lot of composers... is that how they get their name out there? Is doing small jobs like movie trailers, or are they creating albums before that?
Well, I think everyone has.
How does all that work?
Yeah, everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own way of getting noticed. Some are lucky. Some never had to go study music. They just made the right connections at the right time. And honestly, I believe, truthfully, like 90% of the time, that's just flat out the case. Someone becomes good friends with a producer or director, and then they say, hey, if you ever need any music, let me know. Absolutely, man. That time we went and played golf, that was great. I'd love to have you write my movie. like, I honestly, I think that's what happens most of the time. Otherwise, it would be from like an academic setting where someone else is just lucky enough to have their piece performed by another friend. Like recently, about a year ago, one of my buddies, Jeremy Parker, he lives in Oklahoma. He's the director of the Pride of Bixby. Reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you ever write something for band, we'd love to give it a go." And I was really fond of space at the time, and I wrote this piece called Supernova, Dawn of the Veil Nebula, because NASA had just released a really stunning picture of the Veil Nebula. I was like, cool, that gives me a perfect reason to write about something. And next thing I know, I have my piece performed in Bixby, Oklahoma. Next thing I know after that, I have this guy who has his own radio station where he plays classical band music reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'd love to have your music on our show."
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's just little connections like that. It's the right timing. I think that's where people really get their break. And then consistent work ethic over a period of time is the other thing. I mean, if you're not cranking stuff out at a constant rate, you're bound to fizzle out. People are going to quit hearing about you, you know?
Right.
Unless you're that guy who's the one-hit wonder.
Yeah. No, I mean, even with, Two Steps from Hell definitely made it from movie trailers. That's where I heard of them originally. And then I started looking into their albums. And now, like I said, they don't even do movie trailers anymore. But someone like Hans Zimmer, for example, I didn't hear about him until Gladiator, which was in the year 2000.
Well, and you know how he got his start, right?
I don't actually.
He was the keyboard player in the band that played Video Killed the Radio Star. And that happens to be, and that happens to be the very first music video ever recorded. I don't know how he got into film music past that, but that's how he broke into the music community, at least. I know Danny Elfman, he got asked by Tim Burton when he was singing with his band at some bar. Tim Burton comes up to him after the middle of a set and just says, "Hey, I would love for you to write the music to my movie." And that's how Danny Elfman got started.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of really weird instances. I've been really...
Right place at the right time.
Yeah. I think that's really the majority of the case with a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I hadn't heard of Hans Zimmer before, and then Gladiator comes out and I'm like, man, this is an epic soundtrack. And then all of a sudden, Pirates of the Caribbean comes out and all these movies come out and they're all Hans Zimmer and it's all like epic music. And Hans Zimmer is probably in my top 3.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I love his music.
And I'll say something that's a little bit controversial, but I also think he'll agree with me. His music is really great for film. It doesn't always mean it's great music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, a lot of his stuff is pretty simple, to be honest. But it translates great on the screen with whatever's going on the screen. Usually it's like really epic sounding music.
Like Dunkirk's the perfect example. I don't know if you remember, there's this one scene where like a viola is just doing these really scratchy 16th notes and it just sounds like ass. And that's all I could think of when I was sitting there in the theater. I was like, it sounds horrible. And then everyone afterwards was like, man, the music made the movie so much more intense. And I was like, well, you're probably right, but like, I would never sit there and just listen to that on like a drive to work or something.
All right. That is true. I don't know. Like another thing I've noticed, and I haven't really noticed it with much else. I mean, you'd probably be better at kind of looking into this, but I know like there's parts of there's a piece called The Battle from Gladiator. And there's a part in it.
Track from that soundtrack.
Yeah, there's a part in that piece where if you go to Pirates of the Caribbean, like the main theme song for the Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like almost identical of how they sound, and it's almost like he copy and pasted from his Gladiator, and he's like, all right, this sounds good. Let's take this little snippet and make a whole soundtrack out of that.
Well, And you can actually say that about any composer if you listen to them enough. Every composer, including myself, we borrow from ourselves at times, and we'll borrow from
Oh yeah.
others. This is actually just a really interesting topic in general, the idea of writing down something that you've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Right? That's kind of impossible. So
Right.
most of the time when someone's writing something, they've heard it already somewhere else in some section. It could be like 1 second of a 2-hour symphony, and then they decide to put that in measure 3 of their symphony or something. It does make it's kind of copying, but at the same time, in my argument, I think it's original at the same time, because you're doing something new with that idea. You're not doing the exact same thing. And while Hans uses a lot of the same textures, same keys, same instrumentation, those melodies are two distinctly different melodies. Like if you sang them back to back, you'd be okay. They sound like two different songs. Same band, two different songs. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but it almost sounds like I'm not saying they don't sound different enough, but it almost sounds like they come from the same movie. If you were to guess, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I could
Like
see that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as somebody that's as like renowned and makes really good music like they do, it's kind of like you have, your core sound that, you've already developed, and it was done so great. Everybody loved it. You're going to try and almost mimic that same sound, I think, to get the same results. It's kind of like stepping away from music. It's like an author. If they write a really good book, they're probably going to kind of use the same plot points, and it's a whole different story, but it's kind of following the same thing, I would think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't really stray away from what you know is really good. Like, you're going to try and reuse the same sound, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, just look at pop music. Like, there's so much of pop music uses like the same chords.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that you could look up. That's like, people playing the same 4 chords, and they're playing like a bunch of different pop songs over it. And it's like you can sing all of them with just those 4 chords.
I remember you linked me a video a long time ago. It was like, I don't remember what it was. It was like 25 different country songs or something. And you're like, and here's an example of why country music sucks. And like, you played it to me. It was like all these different songs, and they all sounded the same thing. They would like cut out like music on one and like start playing music of another, and like the guy's voice goes along just with it or whatever. And I thought that was pretty funny, but I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's all music for you. Like it's not country, it's rap too. Like you hear the same beats. Like with trap music, what do you hear in trap music? Really, really fast, like
Hi-hat.
like 30-second note hi-hats. Like that's in every trap song. Yeah, so like you definitely hear it in all genres of music, that they just it definitely sounds different enough to where it doesn't sound exactly like a different song, but you just can't come up with something original anymore. I mean, things have been done. There's only so many notes, and there's only so many things that sound good.
You can put them in original order. Somewhat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like phone numbers.
Yeah, but like then I feel like you're going into some like niche genre that won't be like the popular thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when something follows a certain chord structure that people just relate to, and they're like, oh, this chord structure means epic. Like that's automatically what they feel when they hear the chord structure. And then you play, like you do the same chord structure, but then you switch one of the chords. It's like, oh, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't like that.
Or sometimes it could have a better reaction.
It could.
Sometimes. Not all.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, like 2% of the time.
See, this is where the two different people differ, I think, is, you guys went through years and years of band, years and years of music. I think Blake went to, like, you're a composer, you went to college for music stuff. I had 3 years of band, don't give a shit about music otherwise. I just like to listen what I like to listen to. So when I hear music, I hear two different things regardless. And then you've got, guys like you that, studied music and music theory and things, and you hear two songs, you're like, that's the same fucking thing. I couldn't tell the difference. So I don't know. I guess that's the whole point behind it. But
Yeah, when I hear music, I just can't turn my brain off. I start analyzing. Usually, the first thing I go to is the rhythm. So if I hear bum bum
mhm.
bum bum bum, I'm thinking, okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think like
Uh,
that. I've been like far enough away from music like class and schooling to be able to get away from that much analyzation, but I do sit there and I unfortunately, I mean it's not unfortunate. I guess that's why it's pop music, but that's why I still go to pop music because I hear it and it makes me feel good. Just because those chords, those same four chords, they speak to me. So I guess it works.
they are awfully consonant. Those 1, 4s, and 5s.
Yeah.
So does having all the background in music for you personally, does that like almost affect like when you look at music, do you hear it and it like ruins music for you sometimes?
I know one of the biggest challenges I had when I first started studying music in college, and this is by no means me trying to be like up on a high horse or anything, but I feel like music had always come pretty naturally to me, and I was always pretty good at it without actually having to think about what I was doing. I just knew it intuitively. And then when I got to college and they're like, okay, so you've been doing this the whole time, but this is actually what it means, and we need you to be able to write it out and show us that you actually know what it means. And to me, that's kind of like explaining how I breathe. It's like something I never think about. I just do it naturally all the time. And it kind of put me in a weird spot for a moment where I actually thought about just quitting music entirely. So I was like, man, this sucks. I have to think about this. I have to write these papers. I'd rather just write and not care about what my theory is. And, and if it sounds good, it sounds good.
I mean, that's one way to do it, to be honest. I mean, that's what John Mackey does, right? He can't even read music. Isn't that what I remember?
He can't play an instrument, but no, he can read music for sure. He went to the Cleveland Institute and also Juilliard to study music. So he can read, he can't play. Someone who can't read music is Danny Elfman, that same guy who was well, maybe he can read music, but he doesn't write it. He tells all of his orchestrators, like, hey, I want a low sound that sounds like this. And he's super descriptive about what he wants. And I'm sure he just watches over them like a nighthawk, making sure that they don't screw anything up.
Right.
But yeah, John Mackey does know how to read music. Writes some really great music. Actually, makes a lot of money doing it too. Just not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, another thing I've noticed about your music specifically is, I think you actually try to kind of break that mold. I've noticed with a lot of your songs that it might be going in a chord structured direction of a regular like epic piece, and then you'll try to purposely put these like diminished chords in there to shake things up and try something different, which is like you said. It can be a good thing to put those in and try something new, like out of the norm.
And it can go horribly wrong at the same time.
Yeah, it can. But I mean, from the ones I've heard from yours, they sound good. So I mean, let's actually play one of your pieces real quick.
Cool.
To kind of showcase that and show people what I'm talking about. Actually, with this one, I don't know if you really like go out of the niche, but I really like the beat. So this one's called Origins, and you can look at the full version. We'll link it in the show notes later, but here it is. yeah, it has this really like almost Middle Eastern, like African feel to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what you
I
guys
was
will
kind of
think,
going
but
for a tribal African,
yeah,
also mysterious and mythical at the same time. Um, because I mean, the title of it is Origins, and at the time, I had really gotten into the topic of creation, just like the beginning of time and everything, and just kind of thinking about how it would go about, what would happen in the beginning. Started thinking a little bit about dinosaurs, a little bit, as we move on through time.
you watched the Land Before Time a few times.
Yeah, to get me in the spirits, of course, Littlefoot. But yeah, that was a time in my life where I was really, really just really intrigued by by space, by the beginning of time and whatnot, trying to figure out what I believe, what I kind of think, and ultimately what I came up with is I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But I do think it's of an epic proportion and it's awesome. And it's also a little mysterious. And that's what I was basically just going for with that piece. I just kind of wrote it for fun one day um, up at my parents' house in Oklahoma, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one a lot. Sorry, I gotta clear my throat. Jeez.
Jesus, listen.
Get it together.
Yeah.
My bad.
Grief. We're
God,
doing a
this
podcast here, man. Get it
derailed
together.
the whole podcast.
What are you guys doing over there? Do I need to give you guys
But yeah, just yeah, I really like that piece a lot. It's one of my favorites
Thanks,
of yours.
Appreciate that.
But for sure, I definitely got that feel. I mean, like even while we were listening to it right there, I closed my eyes and tried to imagine like a film scene, and I definitely imagined something tribal.
So let me give you
got the point across.
what somebody has no idea about music thought about that right there.
All right,
First-hand experience for you. So when he first turned that on, first thing I thought of when I heard those first opening chords, we were actually talking about it earlier, it took me back to like Gladiator.
Okay.
At the beginning, I could see Gladiator medieval soundtrack coming out, and then it changed. I was like, all right, well, here's some Egyptian music, and I see some like Prince of Persia stuff, and then it kind of got down a little bit more, and the next thing that went to was the name of Origins, and then it went to Assassin's Creed Origins, and I think that was Egyptian shit, so I don't know. I'm assuming this probably came out way before that, but...
Oh, wow, that is actually an interesting...
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting like thing that you said, because Assassin's Creed Origins is the newest Assassin's Creed game, and it actually is set in Egyptian times, which is funny that this piece is called Origins and it sounds kind of Egyptian.
Well, and I don't, everyone has their own
funny.
beliefs for whatever reason from our own experiences in life that led us to this point. But from what I've understood through the theory of evolution and what science has taught us is that we did actually all start on Africa. I don't know if we can come to agreement with that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of why it has the Egyptian-esque feel to it, just naturally. I don't know, but I'm really happy that you guys were both feeling it go back in time, because that's the biggest thing that I really wanted people to feel. Like it was the beginning of time, uncivilized. There's nothing going on. And you both said, yeah, it took me back in time to this. It took me back in time to that. So just hearing that was like, okay, cool. My job was complete as a composer. I did the right thing. I got the message across somewhat.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't thinking of like a car chase, like shootout or anything like that. I definitely wasn't looking into that. I don't know. Like it would be like a car chase with someone throwing a spear, like
a chariot chase.
A chariot chase. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, geez.
Like I could definitely not to set like try and sound like super musical nerdy, but like you can see the emotions that you were having of the time of trying to compose that piece, having to deal with, the beginning of time and what you were thinking of while you were trying to write that piece. Like you can see the emotions that go into it. And like I think that's why it came out that it did, is an older sounding, like back in time sound. And well, like I think that's pretty cool to actually, I probably wouldn't have thought of that any other time, but the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you about like music theory shit, I guess is kind of what made me think about that. But it's pretty cool to see.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you don't sound nerdy at all. Like if you were actually to go into a music class, like a music theory class, they get real nerdy with like explaining the emotions of a song.
Let me see if I can. Hang on, let me try this again. The ostinato in measure 12 after the recapitulation from the modulation from D minor to G major was exquisite.
Yeah. Like,
oh my Lord. Please tell me that's not how it actually goes.
It's like you just stepped into like a wine tasting contest or some shit. It's like they're teaching music theory with like wine and cheese on the side. Like that's the that's the kind of stuff you'll hear.
Well, I think I like, because you said that one was one of your favorites. I think another reason why I think that's one of my favorites is actually my hip hop influence. Some of my rap influence comes across in that. You said you like the beat a lot. You can kind of hear that I did that in the orchestra quite a bit. I tried to make it groove a little bit, even through electric bass, to make it groove a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's something I think that helps identify, or that's something that makes someone more unique, is when they can start adding small flavors like that into their own music and making it their own style, their own brand. Kind of like Fat Bastard says, everyone likes their own brand.
Yeah, like I definitely I mean, I've always been a huge fan of that niche genre, and I feel like it can be explored a lot more. And the thing I'm talking about is adding a hip hop beat to a like a film soundtrack, like a an orchestral soundtrack. I think that's amazing when it's done right. And I want to hear a lot more of that. There's this guy on YouTube that I listen to sometimes. His name's like Farhan K. He's like some Middle Eastern guy. He actually did a theme song for like a fighter in the UFC, and it just sounds so epic because it's just like an epic soundtrack with like a hip hop beat behind it. And
you should send that to me, by the way.
I will after. But it's freaking amazing. Like I love stuff like that, and I think people should do it more. I don't remember hearing it in the Black Panther soundtrack, but you said it's there, so maybe I just missed it. Maybe I was.
Give it another listen. You'll hear some moments for sure. There's one moment in particular when he says, I think burn it all or burn them all. He's talking about those plants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hip hop in that track in particular. And there's some really big moments that I think hip hop actually takes it to another level. Because there's all these really big chord changes, and then all of a sudden the hip hop beat comes in behind it and makes it sound even bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, like on your SoundCloud, you also have. I mean, you like to make hip hop music as well, because from the time I've known you, other than like orchestral soundtrack music, we like to baller it up and listen to some beats.
Oh man, I'll just never forget that time where me and you were just jamming to some David Guetta in my car.
The Chris Brown song.
Yeah, and it was like 4 a.m. after you've been hitting the buffet at the night.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And it was
like the buffet at the 9.
I just remember we kept putting our fingers in the air, just boom, boom, boom.
Oh shit, dude! Oh, I remember that shit.
Did you guys stick around for eggs and legs or whatever that is?
R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah, rest in peace.
Sad times.
That's funny.
Oh my god. Yeah, dude, I remember all those drives back. They were a lot of fun. That was some good nights.
Oh, great nights. Great nights. Wouldn't change those for the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to hip hop, I mean, my philosophy with music is good music is good music. I don't care the genre. I'll even say it. There's a few country songs I like. Keyword is a few. A
Mm-hmm.
few. I'm not the biggest country fan, but I mean, good music is good music to me. If I like it, I like it. I don't try to segregate genres. I know a lot of people in the classical world, in particular, just hate hip hop. I think a lot of that comes from lack of understanding. All they hear is the same beat going on. They're not hearing all the wordplay that's going on. They're not hearing the rhyme scheme. They're not hearing all these intricate rhythms that are happening. With, excuse me, I had to burp. They're not. They're not hearing all the intricate rhythms going on with the rappers. They just hear someone talking, booty
About booty
hose,
and
shoot
hose.
this guy, rob this guy, got high and drunk off of that, blah, 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 and then loud, annoying bass in the background. They just don't know how to listen to it. I think it's the biggest thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Like, I don't know, but when I listen to a song, it doesn't matter what genre it is, I don't listen to lyrics. I don't know if that's weird. I talked to my brother about this once. Yeah, I talked to my brother about this once, and he thinks it's because we're Bulgarian, and a lot of Bulgarian music, the singing is like very drawn out in Bulgarian music, so you can't always understand the lyrics because the lyrics are drawn out like that when they're singing. So because of that, we're drawn to the melody, the bass, and the beat of a song more so than the lyrics. So it doesn't matter what the song is, unless I listen to it a bunch of times, I won't ever pay attention to the lyrics of what people are actually saying. I'm just like getting into the melody or the beat or something.
Oh, for sure.
Song. That's what makes me enjoy
I'll add
a
two
song.
more points to that. So I think that also comes from our band background. We grew up since 6th grade just listening to other instrumentalists play. So that's what we've learned to focus on. And then 2, there has actually been quite a few studies out there that have said that you can actually only listen to one or the other. You can't actually focus intensely on both. It's either going to be the lyrics or it's going to be the music. And being able to listen and both simultaneously analyze both of them is damn near impossible.
Yeah. I feel like most people I know, though, they'll hear like a top 40 song and they'll be able to sing it word for word. And I'm like, dude, unless I look up the lyrics, there's no way I'm going to know that song. Like to
or
sing
like
it.
I'll play something
I might
for my
know the
mom.
chorus, and
she'll be
that's
like, "Oh, turn that off. He's saying F this, F that, pussy this, smoke this, whatever." Did you hear the chords? Did you hear that polyrhythm that happened?
So like, what the hell?
Exactly. She's, I didn't hear any of that. All I'm hearing is this nasty language.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a thing, like the difference between, listening to lyrics and the music. What do you listen to, Nathan? Like, do you tend to listen to the lyrics more than the actual song?
I think I would have to say I listen to the lyrics more than the music. To me, the lyrics is what makes a song, because when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to it for almost seems like emotional reasons. Like if I'm listening to rock music, you can I'm probably going to be in somewhat not of an angry mood, but like, hostile. Like I feel hostile when I'm listening to rock music. If I'm listening to country music, it's probably because, I don't know, I just feel like smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. And
because she thinks your tractor's sexy.
Right, exactly. And then, like if sometimes when I'm at work and I'm under a lot of stress and I'm in a hurry trying to get things done, but I'm trying to stay focused on what I'm doing. Like I'll turn on like classical orchestra piano music. Like I really love to sit back and listen to really fast piano music and all the orchestra music, kind of going back to, our band days, and that helps me relax. But I listen to a lot of the lyrics for the feels out of it, I guess. I don't know. I like to hear other people crying about what's going on.
But I think that's why you like country music. I mean, country music has definitely grown on me. I definitely like it a lot more than I used to. But I think that's the big difference is like country music doesn't offer so much in the melody department. It does, because that's why I enjoy it. There is good ones, but it offers a lot in lyrics. It's usually really deep emotional lyrics. And because I don't listen to the lyrics as much, I don't get into it as much. But that's why I also love other genres like electronic dance music, because there is no words usually.
Right.
Or if there are words, there's a few words that I can definitely remember, for what they sing in them. But it's all pure emotion of the melody and the chord structure. So that's why I like EDM a lot.
Dude, that's a great explanation to country music, because I never thought of it that way. But it makes total sense to me now, because I don't listen to the story as much.
Yeah.
I hear the twang, like
like when it comes to country music, like I don't like anything that's on the radio today. I don't listen to. Like country music to me is going back to people when I was growing up. Like there was Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, Brooks and Dunn. You guys probably don't know any of these people. And then going even further back to like David Allan Coe and
I know David
Johnny
Allan Coe.
Cash and Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr. Like I like the old country, like what country used to be. They called it outlaw country back in the day. And it like the music is okay. Like you said, there's not really much that the country music back then offered. Like you just sit there and like stamp your foot and kind of like jiggle your arms like you're doing the chicken dance. Like that's about all they did. But the lyrics that they use is what moves me when I'm listening to that music, because they're either singing about their pride in their country, or I'm gonna beat somebody's ass because he just slept with my wife kind of stuff. But I don't know. It to me, lyrics is what gives me the music, and it's probably because I don't have the background that you guys have in music. But
yeah, I mean, I can see that. But yeah, we're gonna play actually another piece here, which is gonna show Blake's hip hop side.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts and step up. That's the name of the song. I just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, so here's that one.
I like that.
Yeah,
I dig that shit.
Nice, man.
Yeah, I was bumping that shit right there.
So, funny story about how that one came to be. A couple of years ago, I was working at North Texas's rec center, just their gym on campus. And my friend Joseph was like, "Hey, man, I know you're into music. I used to be in choir. I'm telling you, I got a great ear. Like, let me come over sometime. We can make some music." I was like, "Okay, man, that's cool." So he comes over, we're hanging out, and I'm like, "All right, man, so give me something. What are you thinking?" He's like, "Try this. Bum, 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 bum." And he just sings E flat to E to F. It's just these three chromatic notes. And I was like, "Okay, man, I think I could make that work." And then I put all the beats and everything else and all the sounds to it. But that wouldn't have even happened if that guy didn't come over and hang out with me one afternoon and just say, "Hey, man, check this out."
Yeah.
I have this beat going in my head. I got to get it down on paper.
Exactly.
DJ,
That's
spin
awesome.
that shit.
Yo, DJ, hit that shit.
No, like I actually really like that in this one you're still using orchestral elements. Like it's obviously like that low brass sound that you're using for those chromatic notes. And
Yes.
for those of you that don't know what chromatic notes are, it's
I have no idea.
It's basically like
Sorry.
a note, and then it's a half step up from that note. So it's like da da. That's like right above it. It's like the next step
Or
up.
even make it more simple. Yeah, half step up is what it is. It's a half step up and then half steps down. But if you're looking at a keyboard, it's all the keys that are right next to each other. So it's just 3 consecutive keys in a row, and that's what makes it chromatic. Yeah.
Chromatic notes are really popular in techno and electric house music. You'll hear
right
a
before
lot
the
of
drop. Beam,
yeah,
beam,
you'll hear.
beam, 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 and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's
like
all
a chromatic scale, like we used to do to warm up in band. All right, see, it's coming back. It's coming back.
It's all coming back. But yeah, it's very popular in electronic dance music, and even in melodies for electronic dance music, I hear it a lot. Like if you listen to Benny Benassi,
Oh yeah,
all he does is like his chromatic notes and like little polyphony going up and down.
Oh, even you, Isin, and that memes tune that you made.
Yeah. I actually, when I was making that song, I took a lot of inspiration from like chromatic style electro house music, and that's exactly why I was like, I'm going to use a chromatic melody here, and I ended up doing that, and I mean that's what came out. So
I still listen to that sometimes at the gym. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn on Isin's memes song, and I'm just going to get after it on this treadmill.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
That's the one that's the one you like, Nathan's the one at the end with the Yoda.
Hell yeah. It's good shit.
Some good shit. But anyway.
So, Sin, you've been writing?
Have I been writing?
Yeah, you written any music lately?
Hell no. Dude, I've been paying attention to this podcast. I mean, the last thing I've written was the outro to this podcast, and then the intro to this podcast is also an edited version of one of my songs as well. So that's all I've done, but I am kind of working on a collab right now with someone that could possibly be our next new theme song, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast yet. I'll tell you after.
All right.
If you
I really want to know.
But I'm kind of working on that. Yeah.
It's pretty sick. I like it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. But it's been pretty fun. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take us to the random thought of the day segment to close out the show here. So I had a pretty simple question. It kind of has to do with definitely, what we're talking about. So do you guys see like the older generations of music returning to the mainstream? Like they kind of have in some ways, like if you've heard of Parav Stellar, that is like electro swing music. Mm-mm. And that's kind of bringing back like swing from the 20s in a new EDM fashion. But do you think there is going to be other genres from like, the 30s or 40s that kind of return in a way to the mainstream?
You go first, Nathan.
I could definitely see it happening because like we were talking about earlier, whenever you're trying, it's hard to create something new and original now because at some point it's somewhere, whether it be, writing, gaming, music, anything, like it almost feels like it's already been done somewhere and you have to do your best to put your spin on it to make it something new. So eventually, we're going to run out of things musically speaking. And then I feel like, people will have to start taking things that came back from, the 20s and the 30s and the 40s that nobody's heard in, decades and add their own spin to it and try and create something new. So, I mean, it's almost like a revolving door, I feel like. Until something new that nobody's ever heard, you almost have to keep regurgitating.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be totally honest. I think if it does resurge, which things do come back without a doubt, it's never the same as it was. Everyone's going to put their own flavor to it, make it their own somehow. I think Lady Gaga is a perfect example. There's a lot of disco elements in her music, but you listen to it, it sounds more club related with disco flavor. Right. You know what I mean? It's got this modern twist to it.
Yeah, I definitely think there's already a lot of that. A lot of old themes coming back with new twists on them. With
like Bruno Mars doing the Michael Jackson get up. Like he's totally doing the Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah, like that's the example I was going to use. I don't remember. I think it's called like 24 Karat. I don't remember what it's called, but he's in that 60s, 70s get up, and it's disco music. And that's one of the reasons like I fucking dig that song. Like it's probably one of my favorites of his that he's ever done, because I'm a real big listener of disco. Like I can throw down to 60s and 70s disco music all day long. Like people at work hate it because they'll come back there and I'll be playing like James Brown or something, and they're like, "What the hell are you listening to?" I'm like, "Shut up, this is good stuff." And so I really like to listen to that.
Nathan, you might not remember this, but I actually made it a point to myself to make sure I brought this up on the podcast. Do you remember how I met you?
I'm trying to think. A birthday party, was it?
Not quite. So I'm hanging out with a
probably throwing up at a party.
We're close. We're getting closer. I'm hanging out with a thin. He's like, "Hey man, you want to go back to my place and chill? My friend Nathan's there. He's been drinking in the back porch all day."
Oh man!
And
hang on, I think it's coming back. It was Long Island Iced Tea.
Dancing so hard, and it's like the sexiest moves I've ever seen. The hips are going hard. You got your bottle in the air, and you're just having the best time of your life. I was like, man,
he's getting it. I think that is the night you drank that whole bottle of the Long Island.
I think
Iced
it was.
Tea. Yeah, dude, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, dude,
I know you were there.
That takes me back, man. Like back in like towards the end of high school, man. Like that's what I love to do. Like I love to dance. Like guys going out of fucking style.
You could cut a rug.
Like that's one thing.
Shakira,
dude, I tried. Like that's one of the things my fucking wife still talks about to this day. She's like, "Yeah, he's like my own personal Chippendale." I'm like, "Look, I ain't danced in like 5 years since we got married. Like I got married and hung that one up." but yeah, dude, that was one of the things I enjoyed the most, was having a few drinks and then being able to go out and dance and act like a fool. I still do it from time to time, but I'm definitely not as limber as what I used to be.
I was nothing but impressed. I was just like, wow. I wish I had.
I can honestly say like I actually dance like a white guy. You don't. So.
I do now. That. I'm out of practice. Like this is kind of a little bit embarrassing. And I'm almost tempted to not say it, but now that I've already let the cat out of the bag, I kind of have to. But man, when we were in high school, the big thing that was coming out were those Step Up movies and like all the dancing movies. Dude, I fucking digged that shit. Like I was watching those people, I was like, man, I can do that. I was like, what's more sexier than somebody that can fucking dance? And I used to watch those movies, and then I had this big dresser that had this huge mirror in it, and I'd sit there and I'd practice like choreograph. You know, I was like, I'm gonna do this shit. I'm gonna look exactly the same, and I'd watch myself do it in the mirror. And I know that's really fucking ghetto and gay, but
what's really funny about that is like you can do that kind of dance amazing. Like I'm impressed. Like I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's pretty good. And then I try to teach you the Running Man.
Yeah, I can't do that.
And you just go like full like you don't know what. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's really easy to fucking pop, lock, and drop it and dance like a hooker, but like something that actually takes skill like the Running Man is hard.
Pop, lock it, drop it.
I don't know.
That might be the name of my next hip hop beat.
Hell yeah. Gotta coin that shit.
All right, Blake, man. Well, I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
We played tag over the past few weeks, so I'm glad we finally got to sit down and get her done.
Yeah, man. If people want to like reach you or reach you on social media or actually come listen to your stuff, like where can they do that?
Sure. So you can go to my SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com / Blake Birmingham. You could just add me on Facebook. You're welcome to send me a message. I'm pretty friendly about that. Just don't poke me. You can also shoot me an email at blakebirminghammusic@gmail.com. I'm pretty fast about getting back to people. Yeah. Other than that,
Nice. All right, man.
I teach a lot of brass lessons here in the DFW area. If anyone's ever trying to learn a brass instrument. I also play pretty frequently with the Lone Star Wind Orchestra. I'm actually playing their next concert April 29th, I think, down in Moody Hall, downtown Dallas.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in that area, check that shit out.
Yeah, check that shit out.
It'd be a great concert. Good music, especially if you like band music.
All right. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, please check out the Actions Per Minute Network at actionsperminute.net to check out our website. You can email us at coldonepodcast@gmail.com if you want to contact us directly. Make sure and follow us on Twitter and Facebook, which is both at Cold One Podcast. We do now have a Discord up, so you can check that out at our website, and there's a button on the front page, or you can go into the Meet the Team section, and you can come game with us. And lastly, please go in your podcast app and like and subscribe to the Cold One with the Boys. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.
Laters.
Yeah.